you finished in there yet?
I can't be the only person who still finds the odd fart joke funny, right? Toilet humor is the most ubiquitous form of comedy on Earth. That's a fact that I haven't verified, so you'll just have to trust me on this. But as prevalent as toilet humor is, it's also universally dismissed as lowbrow. As they say, shit jokes are shit jokes, but we've all had a phase, haven't we? We've all had a time in our lives where poo-poo and wee-wee were the funniest things on Earth, and yet we continue on with our lives as if we're serious people. But to me, what's so fascinating about toilet humor is that democratizing factor, that universal experience we all share. Toilet humor is humanity's even playing field. We've all laughed about it, we've all eventually grown out of it. Well, okay, that's not always true, but the point is that fart jokes are a common element in our experience as individuals, our journeys toward consciousness. Every soul has a funny haha poo-poo wee-wee joke hidden deep inside. So maybe by understanding this lost element within all of us, we could learn something about the human condition. So join me as I venture to answer life's two most fundamental questions. Why is toilet humor funny? And why isn't toilet humor funny anymore? So let's get to the core of the issue. For something to be found unfunny, it must first have an intention, inclination, or basis towards being funny. So why are fart jokes funny, and to whom? Toilet humor sits at the very core of a psychological conundrum that people much smarter than me have been wrestling with for decades. Why do we laugh? It seems to serve no evolutionary purpose, yet everybody except the most aggravatingly boring people on Earth laugh just about every day. It's precisely that which gives us the most insight into why we like jokes. The fact that we find people who don't laugh or don't make jokes to be frustrating to be around suggests that laughter is a vehicle for social connection. One person extends a joke and the other responds either by laughing or reciprocating with another joke, often both. But that doesn't answer the question of what a joke even is. Why does a certain combination of words and or images make me go hee hee hee? The conclusion that most people land on is that amusement is a form of intense psychological elation, a moment of excitement either from connecting the dots of a clever joke or by witnessing something we don't expect. There are countless things that tickle our brains in this way, but the response is always the same: laughter. But the question stands, what is it about tootin' that gets me hootin'? What is it about toilet humor that gets our brains so excited? There are some truly crackpot theories about this. I've seen people suggest that toilet humor originates from some sort of Freudian psychosexual obsession with buttholes, which is ironic considering Freud was famously full of shit. But truly, there is no firm or widely accepted answer to why toilet humor slays as much as it does. Whether you ask a kindergartner or a tenured psychologist, there's no response they can give that would be any more credible than a theory. So let me offer a theory of my own. One element of humor that we do understand is that taboos are funny. At the ripe old age of 21, my friends and I still think that sex jokes are a riot, and that's because we couldn't really talk openly about the intricacies of sex until late into or even after high school. And so my theory is this: we're introduced to various taboos throughout our lives, and in the years following that discovery, we find them hilarious. We cannot stop talking about them. Taboos are an object of fascination because they're something we can't discuss in polite conversation. The idea of being able to speak frankly about something we've been repressing is a psychological thrill, and some of the earliest taboos we're introduced to are poo-poo and wee-wee. Our society teaches us that these universal bodily functions should be hidden from others. Nobody wants to see poop, nobody wants to hear about poop, nobody wants to even acknowledge that poop exists. We're living in fucking 1984. But a fart? A toot? That is a betrayal of that sacred rule. A fart is to poop what crud is to crap, or what shoot is to shit, or what frick is to fuck. It is the suggestion of something unspoken. To fart is to reveal humanity's greatest shame, that everybody does, in fact, poop. To a child, that's a victory bell. This is the purest form of vindication. This is the admission that as much as we try to hide from the reality of bodily functions, we can't hide forever. To put it simply, fart jokes prove that taboos can be broken. For most people, it's the first taboo we encounter, and it's always the first one to crack. The significance of this first taboo is enough to leave a permanent burn on our memory, though the comedic value often wears away with time. Which brings us to our second question. Look, we all grow up eventually. Just as our adolescent fascinations with toilet humour are universally shared, so too are our experiences of just being over it. Some moved on permanently, some temporarily, and others were just in denial, but it's true for most of us that at some point in our lives, we stopped laughing. And why is that the case? Why do people abandon toilet humour just as quickly as they fall in love with it? My assumption is that the comedic value of a taboo is on a sort of timer. The novelty wears off. We're so fascinated with these topics because we're forbidden from discussing them. That's why joking about them feels so good. It's almost like a loophole. But eventually, when it's been a few years and we've had our fill, it just doesn't excite us in the same way. However, that's quite a broad statement. I mean, there's some taboos that still crack me up several years later. To say that each and every taboo has an expiry date would just be a lie on my part. I simply haven't lived long enough to even comment on my own experience, let alone others. But I'm confident that exposure has something to do with it. It could be because toilet humour is so frequently used in kids' movies, or because kids learn and thus process new information much faster than adults. Or it could just be that as we get older, the act of going to the bathroom becomes so routine that it doesn't really mean anything anymore. Those experiences will be different for different people. I mean, some people never grow out of toilet humour in the first place. But I think that the young age at which we're introduced to toilet humour and how much we're exposed to it from then onwards must play a role in our decision to flush it away. Another important element to consider is the social component. We're all aware of the fact that toilet humour is not very highly regarded. That's a social influence we can't ignore. Even as kids, even at the peak of toilet humour, we understand that adults don't like it. And then when we get older ourselves, whether or not we've grown out of toilet humour naturally, we understand that adults aren't supposed to like it. Part of becoming an adult, we accept, is leaving the childish stuff behind. So perhaps what kills our fascination with toilet humour isn't age, but the expectations of others. Imagine, if you will, a world in which human beings don't need to poop until they're 18 years old. Maybe as children we're so efficient at digestion that there aren't any leftovers. Imagine that as we enter adulthood, we all start to learn about poop at the same time, like taxes. Without the association between toilet humour and immaturity, would fart jokes have the same reputation? I don't think they would. I think, in some ways, our rejection of toilet humour exposes a lack of respect for children. That sounds like a ridiculous statement, and it sort of is, but I'm not presenting it as some grand societal issue that needs fixing. Rather, I want to examine this on a personal level and see if there's some potential for self-improvement here. As we mature, there's this impulse to reject all these things that define childishness. You know, we stop playing with toys, we stop watching cartoons, we stop laughing at immature jokes. And I think in that process, we lose some of our magic. For most of us, growing up meant discarding a lot of what makes us, us. There's been a movement over recent decades, particularly within geek culture, to recapture some of that childish magic. And that's a movement that I see as quite enlightened. You know, we're taught to revere maturity and reject immaturity, to chase that dragon of adulthood. Ultimately, I'm not convinced that adults exist. We're all just children in denial. Hey, thanks for watching an entire video about poop jokes. This is the first video I've uploaded in well over 2 years, and I'll leave a pinned comment to talk about that in a bit more detail, but this is hopefully the start of my return to YouTube. I really appreciate all the support you're willing to give and all the support that I've received over the past couple of years while I've been away. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you'd drop a like, and if you're interested in seeing more from me, please check out my older videos and subscribe if you want to see some new ones. Until then, thank you so much for taking the time, and I'll see you around.